I don't know if you believe in ghosts, demons, or just things that are just hard to explain, but as we continue this series of Seeing is Believing, we will see the experiences my friend Jordan had while living in this house in Kentucky, along with a terrifying encounter that his niece and his mom had that he would soon experience on his own. Hi, I'm Zach and welcome to Rooted Expeditions. Hit that thumbs up and let's dive right into today's amazingly true story. Jordan spent the first part of 2016 at his parents' house in Kentucky while going to Southern New Hampshire University. It was during this time he had a very strange encounter, or should I say experience. One he would call a poltergeist, or possibly an alien presence. I know to some this might sound pretty far out there, but wait till towards the end of this story. It will hopefully make more sense. Now, to understand this story, the bedroom that Jordan was staying in was his old room from when he used to live there when he was younger. But after moving out, his niece Alice would end up moving in and staying in that very room. Alice, this sweet and innocent girl, would have these terrifying nights in that room, and she would claim that there was a monster visiting her in her room at night. But everyone would pass it up as a child's developing and overacting imagination, just as most of us do. So Jordan was unpacking his things in his room, taking things out of boxes and putting them away in different parts of the room, trying to make himself more at home. He opened up the closet door and put some stuff on the top shelf and closed the door. He got his computer out and set it up and ended up piddling around for a couple hours, and as it was getting late, Jordan decided to call it a night and get ready for bed. So he would lay down in this old wooden bed that was in the room. And while he was laying there thinking about what was going on in his life, his bed immediately started shaking like there was an earthquake happening. But he was able to quickly figure out that Kentucky doesn't really have earthquakes. And when he looked down at the wooden bedpost by his feet, he could see the bed lifting and smacking back down on the ground. And as each time the bed would violently shake and would lift up and down, he would be lifted up into the air. And this was something he had never experienced before, especially in his old room. If anyone experienced something like this, they would probably agree that the seconds felt like minutes, even though it was probably only lasted for about 3 to 5 seconds. He would say that the bed would be picked up and dropped probably about 24 times before stopping. And as soon as the bed stopped shaking and dropping up and down, immediately his eyes were fixed and locked on the closet door. And the hairs on his neck and arms immediately stood up, and goosebumps filled his body as he sat there staring at this closet. The closet door was cracked open. He could feel this presence as if someone was watching him, and it didn't feel right. He said, "I know I closed that closet door hours ago, and there is no way that door should be open. What could this be?" he thought. The boogeyman in my closet, or a monster under my bed? Well, at this point, anything could be possible, right? I mean, the bed was literally shaking and tossing him around like a rag doll. He would later say that it felt like a giant hand was gripping the bed and shaking it around as a child would do with a bed that goes inside a dollhouse. So maybe this got him thinking, maybe monsters are real. It took him a while to fall asleep that night after gaining enough courage to even fall asleep. Now, to fast forward to the next night, he was laying down in his bed and he had his phone out and his headphones in his ears listening to something on YouTube, but at the same time keeping an eye out on that closet door, as if waiting for something to happen, which what happened next would become more terrifying than the night before. It was getting late and Jordan felt like he could just close his eyes and go to sleep. So he took his headphones out of his ears and he wrapped the cord around his phone and set it on his nightstand that was sitting right next to his bed. He pulled the covers over him and he stretched and tried to go to sleep. Not even a few seconds later, as soon as he pulled the covers over him and stretched, the bed started to shake violently again. But this time, it wasn't just the bed shaking up and down. At his feet, he started to feel and hear these thunderous and forceful kicks hitting the wooden footboard that was right next to his feet. Bang, 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 as some giant kicking the footboard as if it was a soccer ball. As this was happening, he was being tossed in the air from the bed, lifting up and down, and then after a few seconds, which felt like several minutes, the bed just stopped shaking. And this time, Jordan could feel a very heavy presence in the room, as if something very evil and sinister was in that room with him. He would state that he wasn't alone in that room. This was the second time in a row that this happened to him, and at night around the same time, and whatever it was wanted to scare him, or even worse, hurt him. What was this thing? Do you know? That's crazy. I guess we'll never know. As the next morning arrived, and being tired from the past 2 restless nights, Jordan remembered Alice's stories of her regular complaints of this scary monster visiting her in her room at night and terrifying her. But as said before, her stories were ignored and passed aside as being a child's overacting imagination. But now it's more clear that what Alice, his niece, was saying could be true. Now, after this happening, he believes his mom also knew deep down inside what happened to him and Alice could be true after she experienced something far more terrifying. Something she experienced for herself one night. To explain, one night Jordan's mom in her younger years had a visitation of her own, but this visitation would be a memory that would last till this day. Not to go too far into the details, but his mom claims to had some type of alien-like being visit her in her room one night, and this encounter terrified her and has today still stuck with her. With all this finally being revealed, Jordan would say that monsters are real and that he thinks whatever was in his room those 2 nights was very upset that he was there and that Alice was no longer in that room. Could it be the same alien-like creature causing problems and terrifying them, or was it some type of evil entity or demon? If you would like to see more info about this particular story or others like this one, I will leave a link to Jordan's book below so you can read and check out other creepy and strange encounters that he had. Hit that thumbs up. Peace, I love you, and as always, God bless.